Hello here and welcome again to another edition of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washett will be joined by Abby Barmore here later today in the show. But spring practice, 5 in the books now, gentlemen, as it's flying by. You only get 15 and they're 33% of the way done.
There you go.
Spring ball.
You nailed the percent there, Sean.
It's like a free throw percentage.
Journalism math right
That's
there.
your free throw. That's your three.
It's my stats 180 class coming back into play there. But, Tuesday was the first day, I believe, of full pads. You had to acclimate a couple days in helmets, a couple days in half pads. They were full. They're going to scrimmage on Saturday. So this is a big week, just kind of in the development of the spring, as they'll go full pads Tuesday, Thursday, and then they're going to scrimmage to some extent Saturday. And you have to expect, that I don't want to say it's going to be a sloppy scrimmage, but it's going to be a scrimmage probably this week that they just want to get done with, but they know there's going to be a lot of things to clean up.
Yeah, and the numbers at some positions I think are going to limit just how much live to the ground, 11 on 11 football they're actually going to be able to play this spring with 12 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, it is. Maybe. I don't know. I think Rule's starting to get a taste of kind of how weird this place is. He was like, 12 linemen in a lot of places is just fine. I guess here it's a little low.
Well, it's the walk-on program. It's a big part of the history.
Well, I mean, you got receivers, too. You're bringing over defensive backs, Jaleel Martin, to help play receiver. You're making a running back.
They're a little down.
Ramir Johnson, play wide receiver.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that always kind of, I think, impacts what you're able to do. And I'm especially curious to see what the spring game looks like if these number, quote unquote, issues continue on through the spring.
No doubt. I mean, the spring game's another story. I mean, if they want to try to do 2 units and all that, I don't know how you're going to do that. But what I thought was interesting is Rule saying the Tuesday after the first week is always a tough situation. And it was
usually always the worst practice in his
tough
experience.
Worst.
It was tense.
Okay, so what he's talking about is they had last week. That was their first week. So there was sort of like a honeymoon. Mm-hmm. Then the kids are off on Sunday, Monday, and they come back today and practice. And it was a little
off kilter.
Yeah. It's surprisingly intense with a game so far away. But they got to get a lot done.
Well, and there's so many people there. I mean, between high school coaches, recruits,
former players,
media. I mean, there's over 100 people watching.
It's interesting the way it is. It feels like an event. When you're over there, right away you walk in and it feels really intense. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not sure it should, but it does. Probably should.
Walk in. There's the sign-in table where you're supposed to leave your name and. You walk in there, there's certain places you can go.
Right.
And, it's very
there's a lot of shouting
strict,
going on.
Yeah.
Did you notice there's a lot of shouting going on?
Directing going on. Yeah.
So
it was a different tone today from the last time we were.
I feel like that. Yeah.
You've talked about this. Your colleague Bill Bush always said, like, when he was at LSU and places, like there's a fourth and short mentality every day.
Mm-hmm.
And with Matt Rule,
it feels like that.
It feels like he keeps the pressure on that staff and those kids.
It felt like
they're fourth and short getting ready for Wisconsin today.
Well, and I don't mean to play it down. I mean, they only have 15 practices this spring, and you got to, and Rule talked about it, you got to get a lot done. Then you got to get some stuff done in the summer. Then you got to perfect. You got to perfect in August, and then you have to execute in the autumn. That's the chain that he's looking for. So football is not. I mean, I always think these guys, I wonder if they'd second guess themselves and just be a tennis coach. I mean, it'd be so much easier. This is a major undertaking right now.
Yeah, guys like that though, they're wired. They're wired for this. I mean, they live and breathe football, and this is how they operate. Rule and his staff, you just see with the way they run drills. Like everybody's got that same mentality, at least from the brief little windows that we've been able to see. It's not just Rule. It's Ed Foley running special teams. It's even Raiola, who was a carryover. He's kind of, I think, embraced a little bit of that urgency that you're already starting to see. So I think that these guys, it might seem like everybody's kind of panicking a little bit, but I think that's just the way that they operate and probably the way you have to operate at this level.
Yeah.
You're listening here to the Husker Online show as we make our way through opening headlines. We're going to delve more into offensive specific storylines and defensive storylines in our next two segments. So we'll keep it more big picture here in headlines. Something else that will help Nebraska here and a lot of teams down the road. The NCAA is expected to allow analysts.
They're not going.
That's going to not happen now.
It's not going to happen before this season.
Oh, I thought it was going to happen. So I guess that's not going to help Nebraska then.
No, it's not going to happen.
But it looked like it was going to. Now it's not.
Right. Yeah, for a period, it kind of did. And there was it was a little misleading, according to Todd Berry of the AFCA. But no, it's not going to happen before.
And that would really separate the haves from the have-nots, because you have unlimited money to pay analysts.
And that's probably why they're taking more time to make sure that they handle that the right way. Because that's, like you said, from just a pure money standpoint, that's a true separator of program resources and what certain teams are going to be able to do and pay compared to other programs that are going to get left in the dust in a lot of ways.
And you can't set a salary cap. It almost go against like labor laws to say you can't pay a guy. But you think about if they did allow analysts to coach on the field, you'd be paying analysts more than like group of 5 coaches would be making.
Probably. Nebraska would have an advantage. They have a huge staff. I mean, this is a mega staff over there.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, it's incredible how much support staff, and I guess you'd call them analysts and GAs and quality control, and God only knows what. I mean, it's amazing that staff. I don't know what the numbers are, if it's bigger than Frost staff.
It is.
Yeah, it definitely looks it.
And there you can tell there's more structure and maybe define roles with what's going on over there.
I think so.
It feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, when we went to Frost practice, they felt intense. It always felt intense. When I went to Riley's practice, they felt intense. Bo's practice felt intense. Frank's Bill Callahan.
The difference with Rule, though, is he is more in the weeds with what's going on. Where
a little more than Riley.
I mean, Frost.
Yeah,
I mean, even Bo would be pretty calm.
He'd stand it to 50.
Bill Callahan was very much involved in what they did, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rule is right up there in the front lines.
Oh yeah, it's not like Riley, where Riley would be talking to people on the sideline during the practice.
Isn't that neat, Steve?
With his back to the action. Yeah, you'll never see. I don't think you'll see Rule do.
Rule will say hi to you or something.
No, he gets in there and runs drills.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing a receiver release drill with the receivers, showing how to get off the corner. I mean, he's in it.
Now to be fair to Mike, he's 40. What is Rule?
48?
40s.
Yeah,
mid upper 40s.
He's about your age, Rob.
Rob just turned 40 this weekend.
I'm a man.
48. So he's 48, and Mike was 65. I mean,
right.
So Mike's not gonna be out there doing.
There's probably a lot of young coaches. I mean, even Frost wasn't like that. And so, I think it's just to each their own. But the way I think Rule thrives in that practice environment is getting his hands in there and participating and showing exactly what he expects. And leading by example.
Yeah, he's something else. I mean, it is. I'm glad you said what you did, Sean. It does feel like 4th and 1. It does, and it didn't feel like that.
Could I have just given you a Sunday column?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I got you through Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, I like this recruiting.
Yeah, we've been on a heater with recruiting columns.
Yeah. But anyway, no, it does feel that way, and it should feel that way here. It should.
And it carries down. You can sit in the players in there. I mean, it just has a feel to it, and that's what you want. It's very, very, very early. I mean, we're not making any strong proclamations here.
No, we're not doing that.
We're just making some early observations of what we see. But all right, we got a full show on tap here. We're going to talk more offensive specific storylines. We'll talk quarterbacks, running backs, O-line, tight ends, including Harik Gilbert, who just looks like a monster, by the way. And we'll hit on all that next. You're listening to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washut. The mics are hot, Steve Sipple. The mics are hot, by the way. You just enjoy that music too much sometimes. But we're talking offensive spring storylines for Nebraska. And I want to hit on quarterbacks. We got our first taste of Jeff Sims. No Casey Thompson yet. And that was interesting in its own right, because I always felt like there was kind of a political effort when there's quarterbacks, like it's going to be the quarterback day, so nobody's feelings get hurt or whatnot.
Oh yeah.
It was Jeff Sims today. No Casey Jeff's share of the day. It was Jeff Sims, and we got to hear Jeff Sims for the first time, at least speak after our practice, and said he's got to get used to that cold weather in Nebraska, and that's a little I don't say concerning, but
it's fine.
It
was interesting to hear him say that. He said the coldest he's been in is 47. Now he's a native of Jacksonville, and he played at Georgia Tech.
God, it was pretty cold.
He
at
never
the
played in Boston College.
Maybe it's possible he didn't.
It's strange to me.
Yeah, he said the coldest. I interpret it as the coldest he's played in. He said the coldest he's been in. Now that would be amazing if he's.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Anyway, he's had to adjust to it. He said he came out the first practice in sleeves and said this doesn't even really help, so he's going sleeveless. I don't think it should be made a big deal of. I mean, I'll tell you what, he's the best looking of those guys physically. Man.
Looks like Vince Young.
Yeah, he does. He's poised. You could tell. He said, I don't know if it was you that asked him, what's the transition been like? And he said, hey, it's my 4th year in college, so it shouldn't be that hard, right?
Right. You know the day-to-day operations and that. So, the physical stuff, I don't think that's much of an issue.
Well, I don't think the off field is much.
Yeah. And it's just, can he do all the other things necessary to be a starting quarterback in the Big Ten?
Can he beat out Casey?
Exactly. Can you beat out Casey? Can you win your room? And then can you get the offense to buy in around you? And can you master the offense to where when the bullets are live, you're out there playing at a high level? So that's the one thing that Casey has on him right now, where he's done it at Nebraska. And granted, it was a different offense, different coaching staff and whatnot, but he's been out there in November and played meaningful football games and won meaningful football games. So Sims has a lot to like, just from his athleticism, the dynamic dual threat ability that he apparently has.
Oh, he has.
We have not seen him throw a meaningful pass, as far as our viewing opportunities, right? They haven't even
just on film
thrown against a defense. So we'll see what that picture looks like in person. But from the surface, it looks like Nebraska has a lot to work with there. It's just a matter, can he close that gap from the established standpoint that Casey has?
And for full context, what we get to see at practice, it's no teamwork. It's all individual position work, on air throws, stretching, warm-ups, which is, I'm not complaining one bit. That's what we get to see, because that's pretty much the norm at most places, but we're not seeing 7-on-7 or team or inside run or, throws with coverage on them. So you're right. Until we go to that red, white spring game, or maybe Matt Rule said, you know what, we'll let you guys watch that scrimmage, which is doubtful, but
we'll see.
You never know. You never know, but you're right. No, there's no real conclusions to draw right now from our standpoint. Through only 5 practices. But by the way, Casey did throw some passes in the early stages of individual work today. Yeah. Just threw some short passes.
They downplayed that though.
Matt did. I don't even know if Matt.
Yeah, so
I don't even know if Matt was aware of it.
The throws he does has nothing to do with the team work. So he's not in there with the QBs running drills. He's in a yellow jersey, no pads. He's off to the side with the other guys that are out for spring, kind of just doing their own thing. But he is throwing a football.
He did throw a few.
He didn't look like, he
threw a few.
He was totally hurt by it or anything like that. So I encouraging. And one of the follow-ups Matt Rule had was that he's getting close to actually being cleared to do more stuff as far as what he can do day to day in practice.
Yeah, he looks good.
He's not there yet, but he is making good progress.
That's a good photo of Casey right there.
That's from practice Tuesday, yellow jersey, as you can see. All right, let's talk running backs, because Anthony Grant was back at practice. We know he's there Saturday. I don't know if he practiced the days leading up. It's unknown how many practices he was suspended for.
Saturday for sure, though, right?
I know for sure he practiced Saturday.
Yeah.
But we don't know about the other days last week before Saturday. But I'll tell you, Grant, I don't want to say he looked smaller to me, but he looked a little lighter in the pictures that we had from practice today.
Yeah, I didn't see him. I never laid eyes on him.
I don't know if he's lost weight, but that's gonna be a battle.
Oh God, yeah, because now Irvin's a factor.
They love Gabe Irvin.
They really like Gabe Irvin.
Matt Rule goes out of his way to go above and beyond with his compliments.
Yeah, I didn't even put it in the practice clips because he said it before. I probably needs to be reiterated. Maybe put a message board post.
He's saying he's doing some really, really, really physical things.
Yeah, they really like him.
So Matt Rule, I think he kind of tipped his cards a little bit where of what he really looks for in a true number one running back is who can finish games in the fourth quarter. They want to get at least 75 yards rushing in the fourth quarter to win. And He was while he said that, he was talking about Gabe Ervin Jr.
Yeah, he was. He was complimentary of the room. He said, "I don't know what the rest of the Big Ten." He said, "I don't know what the rest of the Big Ten has, but we have a good running back room. It's their best position group on offense. Clearly, it's. I don't even
hard to argue.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you could say quarterback.
Now, if like months down the road, if Fidoni's
A healthy tight end room.
Gilbert's back to being like an All-American level player.
Good point.
Then tight end all of a sudden becomes like
if you're good at quarterback, tight end, running back, maybe Billy Kemp get 55 catches. I mean, it might be all right on offense.
But AJ Allen,
Just
too.
saying.
They mentioned AJ Allen. He's hitting some big runs too. So like that home run ability, is starting to show.
And Ramir
Tominaga. We'll play that game, the Tominaga Ramir game.
Ramir hit a home run, 60-yarder the other day.
We'll see what his role is. He's kind of bouncing around, but
he's bouncing around again.
Even Emmett Johnson, Matt Rule said he looks like a point guard out there with the way that he sees the field and that vision that he has. So, I mean, you can see he's not hiding his excitement about that.
He likes that group a lot.
Yeah, EJ Barthel, I think, has walked into a very good situation.
Oh boy, did he! I mean, I don't want to overstate it, but you can just say
keep those guys healthy for one.
Well, Grant ran for 900 plus. You saw AJ Allen, what he did. He looked like he was about to overtake Grant. So that right away, you're pretty good. Then you have Gabe Ervin, who started 2 games as
true freshman to start an opener in program history.
Right. So it's not all just us hyping them. They've done things, And Ramirez was their leading rusher among the running backs in 2021. They got a room there. They do
4 deep right there.
Yeah.
Basically 4 guys that have started.
Yeah.
I mean, AJ Allen didn't technically start, but I mean, it was.
I don't know. Yeah, no, you're right. I don't know what to think about Ramir back in the slot. It was just today.
Yeah.
It was just today. They said
they were kind of desperate. I mean, obviously with that, and then with Jalil Martin moving over. So I mean, they just needed some bodies, I think. So
I think that's what it is.
But he did say in his interview that he was open to doing that more.
He did.
If needed. And maybe that's just him being a great team player. But
that's what Ramir is.
I really hope that he can just find a spot.
I almost wish he put his foot down and say, "Hey, pick a spot here." All right.
Maybe he knows he won't play at running back right now over the other guys.
Maybe.
And you look at that scholarship chart, those 6 freshmen, not a one of them are here right now. So they are lighter on numbers when you get into it. Alante Brown's not here, as we know.
Lighter at receiver, you're saying.
Yeah, like lighter on quality numbers. I mean, they have numbers, but Xavier Bett's back. Hardy, and Victor Jones, they're not really factors when you talk about guys today.
They don't come up.
Garcia Castain is back in the picture. Betts is back in the picture. Washington, Fleeks, Kemp. So those top 5, I think, are pretty solid. But after that, by the way, Jeremiah Charles, how about this, guys? He went 50 feet 3 inches in the triple jump last weekend. That would have been top 10 in the Big Ten. And then the other receiver, Jalen Lloyd, not only runs 10.4, but he's gone 50 feet 3.5 and over 25, I believe, in the long jump.
That's top 10 Big Ten.
Yeah, in the indoor meet this past year.
Man. Yeah. So he wins state here.
So they've got some no, actually, Jalen Lloyd would have beat him by a half inch in terms of PRs. But they're right. He's right with Jalen Lloyd, who's considered one of the best track and field athletes in the state's history.
Whoa. So they just dropping knowledge.
They're I mean, you got Bryce Turner, who runs a 10.2. You got Malachi Coleman. We know his type of speed. I mean, the amount of track speed they're going to bring at receiver will be fascinating.
It's kind of exciting. It is. The 4th down mentality and all, man. Yeah, that 4th down thing's been lacking here a little bit. You do feel it. I wish you'd pick up a little bit of that shot.
All right. On that note, when we come back, we're going to talk some defensive storylines, some spring practice. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Watch will be back with us here talking defensive storylines. Rob, by the way, is working on some basketball stuff. He's always
some scoop.
He's kind of the man on basketball.
Can we say that? He's got some scoop.
He is off camera pounding his keyboard right now.
Yeah. He's hunkered in.
It's 4th and 1 here, baby.
Yeah, it is.
Every day. But let's talk defensive storylines for Nebraska this spring. We got to talk to Tony White this week at length. He's got a real positive energy to him. I mean, you can just tell, like, guys like him, respect him. He's got 3 coaches with him on staff that were at Syracuse, but he's obviously blending in a lot of Matt Rule's guys with him. He played for Matt Rule at UCLA years ago. Rule was there. That's their connection. But just the development of this scheme, the personnel, the defensive line, there's a lot there that we've kind of taken in this first week.
There is. Now, the one thing caveat, Sean, I'm going to add here is you heard Rule today say that he doesn't want his coaches to evaluate players in terms of where they fit on a depth chart. Do you notice that? He doesn't even want them to look at it that way.
He doesn't want to give out. I mean, they're not going to give depth charts out probably during spring, are they?
No, he said they're going to wait till summer, August. So he doesn't even want his coaches to evaluate them that way. Teach them, develop them, and then we'll deal with that. So now there's guys that have made an impression. And remember what Tony White said. I mean, he just couldn't praise Malcolm Hartzog enough. And Hartzog, I watched today. God, he is impressive. I mean, I don't know what it is. He's got all the intangibles, and his tangibles are good too, though, except that size, which he clearly overcomes with intangibles and his intelligence. And he's an athletic kid.
Yeah, and he was so under the radar, just being not in a big city in Mississippi, and he's not big.
Remember when he got recruited? It was like, where'd this come from?
Yeah, I remember. I mean, it was off the radar completely.
I had to do that. I had to fill in. I was filling in. Ooh, I might have been at the Journal Star then. I did his verbal commitment, and I remember having a hard time getting information on him.
Well, there were like 2 groups of guys that year. There was kind of like a push of guys in December, and he was in that push to like kind of have some people to sign in December. Then there was like a push of transfers and others in January. And that had a little bit more flash to it. You know, the Trey Palmers of the world and the Casey Thompsons and those guys came after that point. But he was, you're right, just didn't have much juice because he was so under the radar.
Yeah. Then, and remember when they started him, when it became apparent that he was going to start last year, and that was against Indiana.
Rutgers.
Oh, at Rutgers. It was, wow. They're really starting?
Or was it the Indiana game?
It was Indiana. Rutgers was the second game, I believe, as a starter, I believe. And then, well, what happened at Rutgers was interesting, Sean. Remember, Rutgers put a taller receiver on him, ran verticals and beat him twice, beat Hartzog twice. And those coaches on the sideline, there was some, what do we do here? And the ruling was from Bill Bush, keep him out. Keep him out there. Don't take him off the field. Let him work through this. They did, got an interception at the end of the game to seal it, and then had a great season.
It sounds like safety could be his long-term.
That's the other thing. Yeah, they're moving him around. You know,
there's this thought, I think, by some people on our message board, especially, that you have to be like a big linebacker almost to be you can be a small safety.
Right, you can.
You don't have to be like
Buford's a small guy.
6'2", 200 to be a safety.
No, Buford, the starting safety last year, 5'10", you know, probably
under 200 pounds.
Yeah, under 200. Yeah.
And Buford out this spring, and so we don't really know how he's going to come back either.
Could play corner too.
Miles Farmer, you know, what's his position going to be?
Not corner.
Nickel, safety.
Could be nickel. Yeah.
It feels as if
Rover. They're adding Rover. I mean, that's the thing, Sean.
The 3-3-5. So in the 5, they call that 5th defensive back more of a rover.
Rover, yeah. So you might see Farmer at something like that, or you might see him at safety.
Omar Brown, though, it feels like he's going to have a role.
Oh, it does.
There's just a feel about him, and he was messed up last year. He just wasn't ever fully healthy last year.
Back issues, right?
You know, you've heard his name quite a bit. You know, there's other guys that we haven't heard much on that back end, but Omar Brown.
You've heard a lot. Then the other thing that you see that's impressive is those transfers really look the part, particularly Borders and Sherman. I mean, I got to look at Sherman today, and they just look ready. They're guys, and when I say that, people are going to say, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Well, the only way I can explain it is there are guys, when you go over there and see them, they don't look ready. You can just see it. They just don't. They
like Jacob Hood.
Yeah, they physically.
He's big and tall, but he's not ready yet.
Yeah, then there's guys that just aren't strong enough.
There's Chief.
You can eyeball them and see, no, he's not ready to play. But those guys, yeah, they look physically ready. I don't know if they're mentally and all that, but they're definitely physically ready.
You're listening here to the Husker Online shows. We talk defensive storylines. You know, that defensive line, I still think continues to be a weak spot. It's going to continue to be until they figure out who their guys are and what they want to do. But Ty Robinson's not practicing. But the portal portion of that defensive line, can they find essentially what they had to do last year and get a rent-a-player?
I wonder,
does Rule want to take a rent-a-player where you just get like a 1-year transfer in?
There's the D-line right there. See, so you have Stephon Wynn. You know he's going to play. You know Hutmacher's got to play. Robinson's got to play. Now you wonder among the big bodies, is how good's Judy and is Buckley ready? Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wallen, Kai Wallen,
smaller.
He's not big.
No, he's a smaller guy. So now then you wonder. I was talking to Robin, and he said Riley Van Poppel's a big man.
Oh, he was at practice today.
Yeah, big
with
man.
His dad, Todd Van Poppel.
Whew. Now, I don't know if a guy can come in there and give you some reps. It's hard to say. And you mentioned the transfer portal, which could be an option. But Sean, I don't know that I describe them as weak. They're just light on numbers. Would you say that the defensive line was a weakness last season?
It
was average.
It was, it was serviceable.
I wouldn't say it was weak.
I still don't think Hutmacher gave Nebraska what we thought he was going to give them last year. I thought he was going to give them more.
Yeah.
You just think about where they were at compared to like when they had Darian Daniels, Damian Daniels,
the twins,
Khalil and Carlos Davis.
Mm-hmm.
To even before that with Malik Collins. I mean, they just don't have guys. We know that they don't have guys.
They don't have those guys.
That's why Nebraska is Nebraska right now. They don't have those kind of guys right now.
Thank you. That's well put, Sean. I mean, maybe, but now the wild card is, could Nash develop into that type of guy? Could Robinson? I mean, Robinson hasn't. I can't believe Robinson's played his best football here. I think his best football is to come. He's got 2 years.
If he wants to play for 6, he has 2 years.
Abby pointed out today when we were watching, Stephon Wynn is gigantic, not in a bad way. He's just like running into a house, Sean. If I ran into him, it'd be like running into a house. I mean, he's massive. Now how's that going to look come August? I don't know. I just wish they had 1 or 2 more guys in there that you could point to and say they're ready.
Like Colton Feast, like we've talked about, would have been.
Yeah, he would have helped a lot.
Just to have him.
Oh, he would have helped a lot.
Just the 30, 40 snaps he could give you, it would ease a little bit going in this year.
I wonder, like, if I was in a private conversation with Rule, it'd have to be private because he's not going to lay it on the line with you publicly about Feast. But I'd like to say there's not that many big guys out there. Why would you let one walk away? Well,
even Garrett Nelson didn't make the combine.
Right.
Had to go to, God, if they just have Feast and Garrett Nelson back this year, things feel a little different up front.
Quite a bit different.
The defense looks a lot different.
Quite a bit different, actually.
I'm okay. O'Shawn was never going to come back again.
No, he's not talking to the media. No. He's not. You notice he didn't talk to the media the other day. I've reached out to him 2 or 3 times. No go.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do to that D line, and that will be something we'll talk about here throughout the rest of the spring. When we come back, we're going to take your questions in the mailbag. Abby Barmore will join us next. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple. We're going to watch it back now with us here. Abby Barmore joining us as well as we are taking your questions in the mailbag as we are knee-deep in spring practice. Abby, where are you starting off the conversation?
All right, here we go. If you were able to choose a kid that is most likely to commit among the 4 and 5 stars that visited last weekend, who would it be?
Carter Nelson, I think, is a logical one.
Whoa, really?
I mean, where's he going to go? Like, you think he'll go to Notre Dame over Nebraska?
It's a good question. Okay, so it's really fascinating what he's doing up in the first part of April.
Easter weekend,
5 SEC schools in 6 days. I'm just saying, Sean, he seems very open to the idea of going somewhere.
I just have a hard time seeing Nebraska get beat, mainly for his family's sake. Their coaches, teachers, educators, like how in Ainsworth, to go watch him play. It's not going to be easy to get to Lincoln.
Remember what his dad said, though. He said, where they're from, it's always going to be a distance to see him. Yeah. So why does it matter? See, I don't know that. And here's the thing to say, and you've said this. they play it really close to the vest. Whew, they choose their words carefully. Carter Nelson and his father do. You can't tell. He doesn't let you tell what's going on.
I like Gage Ginther, the chance, and we're going to talk more about some of these recruits in the next segment, but
offensive tackle from Fort Collins.
Andrew Sprague had some great comments for Brian Munson. He's very high on the staff. His coach did. Kelly Donahoe, O'Neill, Nebraska native at Rockhurst High School, a head coach there, coached the Davis twins at Blue Springs as well. So I don't know anyone else. I mean, I think they made a lot of ground with Frazier. I really do.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't regard Nathaniel Frazier's a long shot. I mean, I think they're in the. I think they'll. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back for an official. I mean, come on, it was real what you saw and what you heard.
I think if you're Nebraska, you strategize now to get some of these guys back for the spring game.
Absolutely.
Then you get them back in June for an official.
Mm-hmm. That's basically what Rule said. It's the plan. It's like, we're not recruiting these guys. Like, we weren't like actively recruiting these guys. We were just showing them what we're all about, what it's like to be here, take into practice, see how we operate on the field, see how guys operate in the locker room, to see what the campus vibe is, and set that tone and that foundation to come back. Yeah. And the guys that come back, that's when you really start to get serious about possible.
Rob's right. He did say that. We don't, he said we don't have fancy lines, and we just show them what it is. It's fascinating. Rules, man. I mean, Rule is, you got to listen to him, because the more he says, the more interesting he gets to me.
You remember Phil Almatian?
Yeah.
He had a line about recruiting at Nebraska and anywhere in general, actually. And he said, look, you get him here once, good. You get him here twice, you're in really good shape. You get him back for a third visit, you darn near have to, and I can't use the word on the radio, mess it up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. To
That's
not
what
get
you're trying to do with these guys.
So you get them back for the spring game, a couple of these guys. Then you get them back in June for an official. That's how you win. You get him here 3 times in 3 months.
Yeah. I mean, why not Gatlin Bear? I mean, I think they got a shot at Gatlin Bear. It sounds like it.
The problem is when Gatlin Bear starts playing college football, Sip, you might be living in Florida by that point.
Yeah, I doubt it, the way things are going right now. But
he's going to miss 2.
I'll be working for you till I'm 80, probably, if you don't mind.
Good. I need you.
Gatlin Bear sounds now. I hope people understand he's going on a mission. I mean, Gatlin Bear.
I've got a ton of respect for him too. I mean,
right away he's going on a mission
to give up everything he has right now for what he believes in and go on. I mean, that takes a ton of discipline and dedication, and that's awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, the guys we talk to, they can't really feign interest. You could hear the interest. Go ahead, Ann.
All right, next one. What's the max number of post-spring transfer portal targets you expect, and same with post-spring departures?
Go ahead, guys.
Well, they got to have about 15 departures still.
Yeah.
I would say they need 15 departures, so they have to have 15. But I would say 2 to 3 transfer additions.
Yeah. Rob?
With the lines being the priority.
I hope so.
You would think, especially with the talk about the limited numbers on the O-line, like that's a group that probably could add a piece or 2, maybe a potential starter or 2. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, that's the first thing, like Sean said, they got to create some room before they take anybody at this point.
They're almost at 100 still right now.
See, yeah, after the spring game, we'll stay busy. I mean, there's going to be a lot of news. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of news.
Off season.
The portal's open for 2 weeks.
Need an off season. Yeah, there you go. So there'll be news popping. I don't know what kind of name, like if there will be recognizable, everybody's recognizable in this market, I guess, but big name players going into the portal from Nebraska. Do you envision that?
Yeah, and even like
could be a big quarterback. I mean,
yeah,
you could see one of those.
Maybe a running back.
Yeah,
some DBs. That's a big room right now.
It is.
Yeah, there's a lot of DBs.
Good point, Rob. Yeah, those rooms you really quarterback room you got to watch. All those guys are big names. Scholarship
linebacker. There's some linebackers there.
Is there
in that lower level group?
Freshmen, sophomores,
the early
sophomores.
There's 4 guys there that you don't really see much of a roadmap for,
right?
And if that's how they see it after the spring, what's their thought going to be?
Yeah, 15's a pretty big number. It is.
All right, Abby, what do you got next?
If Nebraska lands Dylan Raiola, who should his top 3 or first 3 targets be to join him as a Husker?
Not good enough.
Brandon Baker, Ryan Wingo, Williams Marnie.
Those are good.
But that's
easy.
Those are good names.
Those all make sense. But Nathaniel Frazier, I don't know if he really knows Dylan, but I do know Brandon. I mean, you saw our own Hayes Fawcett, the famous Hayes Fawcett with Husker fans, had a great edit that he put out on his social media channels, and Megan can probably find that. It's Brandon Baker with Dylan Raiola, the two of those guys together, and they're I don't want to say they're in cahoots, but they communicate.
I hope people understand. If Nebraska got Brandon Baker, I mean, that would almost be, can I say this? Almost be as big as getting Dylan Raiola.
The number one, because Brandon,
he's the number one offensive tackle in the country.
He could come in and take your. I mean, I don't want to say left tackle because there'll be veteran guys back in the program next year, but he could be like a right tackle immediately.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be monumental to get him. Yeah, I probably went too far with that.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
All right.
You're talking about a Husker legacy, arguably the best quarterback in the country.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, if they got Brandon Baker, because even Brandon and I talked, and Nebraska wasn't even on the radar. And it was the Raiolas that put Nebraska on the radar for him, just like, told them more about the program and just things about the program and just the way linemen. I mean, I think Brandon Baker found it fascinating that both the Outland Trophy dinner and the Remington Trophy dinner, the two award winner dinners for offensive linemen, hold their banquets in the state of Nebraska.
Yeah, here.
I mean, it's pretty,
and he's a cerebral guy. That kind of stuff would make more of an impression on him than some. We sat across from him.
Oh yeah.
Didn't he strike you as very intelligent?
He asked a lot of detailed questions like, do you like living in Nebraska? Like he just was like really curious about Nebraska. You could tell and I think when they first got here, they were a little uneasy, but I think after a full day or two here, a lot of their thoughts have changed. And that's typically what happens.
I know. Yeah. They're always not all of them, but many of them are always a little surprised. See, we're down in the Haymarket. That's where our offices are. And Frazier just kept looking. Frazier just kept looking out that window.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, Frazier kept looking out the window. I think they're sort of amazed by what they see.
It's kind of why I opened the windows at night too, because the light's not a problem. It looks cool to see the hay, and Frazier just kept looking during the whole interview.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we're in a really good spot.
I'm not we might have one of the best views in the Haymarket from our office window, and I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, it goes right down there. You can
just
see
right down the street.
Yeah.
All right, Abby, we have time for 2 more.
Okay. Looking at pictures from today's practice, it seemed like more future Huskers and recruits are checking out practice before they join the team. Has that changed from the previous years?
I mean, I would say there's a much more steady stream every practice.
Every day. 5 practices, 5.
Rule said they've had recruits on campus every day since the
start of
the
spring.
recruiting period opened.
Tuesday's group wasn't by any means high profile. Riley Van Poppel was there as a signee.
Mm-hmm.
Malachi Coleman was there. Brady Bookset from Elkhorn South was there. He's, doesn't have any offers. I mean, you had a Minnesota lineman there with no offers, but they're getting guys here and to evaluate, to visit with, to let them see things. There's been a lot of high school coaches and Rule, and I've heard him speak to the local coaches. He's very open about letting them in. And he said, I have what I call an open campus policy, meaning my campus, my practices, my workouts, they're open to you. Meaning if you want to come in, you call my staff, tell them you're so-and-so, so-and-so, and you can come in and you can watch my workouts, my practices. I don't care if it's a Friday before a game. You can come.
Wow. See, now the interesting thing will be to see if that continues. Once there's some losses and it's rough, because it gets rough for everybody.
Or if, these anonymous detailed message board reports start coming out.
Right.
And
he's probably unaware of that sort of thing here. Now, what happens when that happens?
Now he is.
Yeah, now.
Because he hasn't gotten to the heat of it.
Not the heat. See, that's what it'll be interesting to see if that in year 5, if he's here, that we're talking about the same.
Because there is an underground element of Nebraska football.
Oh yeah,
that is different than almost anywhere imaginable.
Yeah, and it is. And
it's
Sean, we've been around. Rob's been around.
It's freaky. I mean,
yeah, Rob's been around a long time. We've all been around a long time. So people don't come at us and say, "Oh no, come on, it's like that." No, it's not. It's really not.
No, and people that come here from other places say that to you too.
Yeah. So I don't know that Rule knows about it yet. I mean, he's got to find out.
And it's one thing to be told about it, but until like
The honeymoon has to
you are
end.
the subject of those underground posts and rumors and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, life changes.
I mean, people's character and names get
killed.
And a lot of it's not even true,
right?
Which is interesting. All right, final question of the mailbag.
All right, so we have the Final Four is set. Who do you think will be in the national championship?
UConn's going to win it all, right? I mean, isn't that the pick right now?
You would think.
Yeah.
I'll be rooting for Florida Atlantic.
I want Florida
just for the story. And man, they're playing.
They're good.
Miami's balling too, though.
Yeah, I shouldn't portray UConn as a complete slam dunk, but they're the lowest seeded team left. They were ranked number 1 for a good share of the season.
I think they're the most complete team remaining.
They're huge.
When Miami's playing to its full potential, they are up there, right up there. But they've kind of been a little volatile. Right now they've been peaking, so I just wonder, can they sustain that?
Sean knows how I am about size. I'm not big on small football and basketball players. They have their place in the world. I get it. There's exceptions to everything, but look at UConn's roster. They have one player under 6'2". 11 guys are 6'4" or taller. They go with 6'9", 7 foot in the lineup. Well, they bring that 7-footer off the bench, but he's prominent. They're huge. I mean, it's a huge roster. It's 6'4" or taller, 11 guys. When they walk out on the court, that's what it should look like, in my opinion.
The Final Four field, though, I joked to Robin, it looks more like a field that you would see play in like some multi-team event.
The Maui Invitational.
Not even the Maui Invitational, like the one that's
not even good enough. Yeah,
like the one that's in Orlando or the Orleans Arena in Vegas. It's fascinating. You got 2 Adidas schools there, though, which is big for Adidas.
Who are they?
Florida Atlantic and Miami.
Those are Adidas schools.
Interesting.
Just real quick, I don't know if we're going to get time in it. News just broke. Nebraska is going to host Arizona transfer point guard Kerr Kriisa on an official visit beginning today, Tuesday, till tomorrow, Wednesday.
Is that right?
He is the reigning Pac-12 leader in assists, averaged just under 10 points per game, shot 37% from 3, had kind of some volatile stuff with injuries and, missed time and whatnot, but some notable transfer news. Finally, I know people have been asking a lot about
they ask you every
when
day
Nebraska is actually going to start hosting some visitors. Well, here's a big one right off the bat.
Okay, good one. What's the name again?
Kerr Kriisa.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
All
from
right.
Estonia.
When do you think he'll make a decision?
I don't know. He just visited West Virginia this weekend. He's here in Nebraska. We'll see if he takes any more visits.
Because a lot of the portal guys don't.
Like maybe 2-3 visits for a transfer.
Yeah.
Some breaking news there from Robin Watchhead. All right, when we come back, we'll close the show. Sip and I are going to give some final thoughts on the football recruiting weekend. We spent a lot of time with these guys in Lincoln during our special interviews we did called Recruit Spotlight. You can watch all those, by the way, which they were outstanding and fun interviews to do on the Husker Online YouTube channel. We'll break all that down next. You're listening to the Husker Online Show. Final segment here of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple. Thanks again to Abby Barmore, Robin Watchhead. Sip and I here again just because we want to talk more recruiting. Sip, we spent a lot of time this past weekend. I mean, a lot of time interviewing 9 of the different recruits.
How about that?
And thanks again to Tanner Sports Bar and Grill and Tavern 180 for sponsoring these recruit spotlight interviews that we did here on Husker Online. And we're going to plan to do more of these. And Tanner's wants to keep doing it. And we've got other sponsors that are interested in it now as well after seeing how well it went this last weekend. But I want to get to what you picked up from the weekend, and I'll share my thoughts as well. But when you sit back and look at the guys we talked to, the conversations we had with some of the best football players in America right here in the studio, what were some of your thoughts?
Oh, the 2 California kids, super highly ranked, Brandon Baker, the top ranked offensive tackle in the country, and Nate Frazier, the number 1 running back in California. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean. And I don't want to build false hope here, but they seemed genuinely interested in Nebraska, especially Frazier. But also, I wouldn't, like, if I were a Nebraska fan, I would not count out those guys. Now, it's going to be tough. You got to pull them from the West Coast, particularly with Baker. You have to pull him from Oregon, where his brother played. And clearly, Oregon has been a favorite. But if you listen to him and if you read recent comments he's made, Oregon changed offensive line coaches, and that definitely affected the conversation. He clearly Nebraska clearly made an impression on Brandon Baker. And you heard Frazier. You heard that, everybody heard it that watched the interview. He was excited about Nebraska. So we'll see where it goes, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, of all the videos we did, those got the most views, and Frazier actually got the most. I mean,
Is that right?
People loved that guy's personality, and I mean, he was fun. We could have done a whole show with that guy.
Yeah, he's a running back, and his dad was here, and his
CJ.
CJ kind of laid out the running back tradition for him, or part of it. You know, he kind of had an awareness of the running back tradition. The young Nathaniel did. So yeah, that okay. And then I would say I thought it was interesting. Gatlin Bear just kind of dropped into the conversation that he's the most highly recruited player to ever come out of Idaho. He volunteered that.
Gatlin had a little bit of Nathan Gary to him. Like
He did.
He reminded me of Nate Gary at that age. He's probably an inch taller than Nate was, but similar speed, confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, they look alike.
They kind of do. He's a little leaner, this Gatlin Bear, right?
I mean, Nate was like 195.
Okay. So he was
in high
yeah,
school,
you remember him better than I do. I remember him as a Husker. He got big, right?
Yeah, he kind of ballooned up, and I mean, he looked like a superhero by the end of his career.
He did.
I mean, his arms were just freakish.
Yeah. So Gatlin Bear, his confidence was striking for sure. And then he's the one who told Brian Munson that, I mean, he just laid it out. He said, Nebraska's going to run the ball. They're going to try to pull the safeties down. And he said, that's where I come in. They won't be able to put the defense won't be able to put everybody in the box because I'll be here. I mean, it was sort of
think about, I mean, Garrett McGuire, like, I think people have had their thoughts on hiring a younger coach, but I've watched him in practice. I've been impressed with Garrett McGuire. He's very hands-on. He's very, the players look like they respond well to him, but Gatlin Bear,
he said he's intrigued by the idea of learning with a coach. Interesting way to put it.
They connected well, though.
Yeah, they definitely connect. Yeah, I think, put it this way, my impression was if Nebraska gets Gatlin Bear, McGuire, well, of course he'll be a leading reason, but it almost sounded like he'd be the reason. He really likes him. So that's good. That's a good sign.
Yeah, Gatlin Bear this week got a Georgia offer. Think about all the access and talent Georgia.
Gatlin Bear did?
Yeah, Gatlin Bear. Think about all the talent they have access to. Yeah. And they offered an Idaho receiver.
How about it? How about that? And then what you noticed, Sean, these guys, these high-end recruits are fascinating because they're going all over the place and everybody wants them to visit, and they go visit. Those kids from Connecticut, Jacob Smith and Gerard, they're like they're like professional recruits. I mean,
I've never seen guys get around like they have.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, they were at Alabama, Georgia, Nebraska last week. This week they're at Michigan.
Yeah.
Notre Dame. I mean, they go everywhere.
Yeah, and what was striking about the Smith twins is their confidence. God, they're confident. I mean, I guess I would be too if I had people showering me with praise and wanting me to come to their campus all the time, but theirs was really striking. I mean, those are valuable players, Sean. What are we talking about today? We're talking about Nebraska needing defensive pop up front. Well, that's what those guys are. They're defensive pop up front. One's a pass rusher. One's an interior lineman.
And to be clear, I think Georgia and Alabama are probably the teams to beat. Yeah. And, we'll see where that all goes with those guys. But I think the two sleeper guys of the weekend, and I hate to call any of those guys sleepers because they're all highly touted, but Gage Ginther. I think they're in great. And then Eli Newby.
Yeah. Interesting.
The lowest two ranked guys that we talked to, but I say that, tongue in cheek because Ginther's got the best offers of any player in Colorado.
See, Ginther, his dad played at UNK, and his dad, it reminds me sort of a Dylan Raiola 2.0. Dominic loves Nebraska, and he's going to be influential in Dylan's decision. Gage, you heard Gage Ginther just say, yeah, my dad's going to play a big part in this, and he loves Nebraska. And if this kid had a good visit, Nebraska's going to be prominent in his thoughts. And he sounds like he did, according to Brian.
Then he did say that the situation with the Big 12 has his attention.
Yeah. Oh, it does. The situation meaning it's not yeah,
The
it's not as stable as the Big Ten. In the Big Ten, he says, is where they play the best football, the SEC and the Big Ten.
I don't care if they have Coach Prime. Like, you're looking, there's other things going on. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but did he strike you as a Deion Sanders guy?
No lineman strikes me as a Deion Sanders guy. I mean, Deion Sanders, he's going to, he's going to recruit good corners. He already has. They have 2 incredibly gifted corners right now that he got there that they'll probably start against Nebraska. I don't know, Sean. Now I got to say, what coaches will tell you about Deion Sanders is his teams are tough. So I don't want to go down the road of disparagement or anything like that. Any coach that I've ever talked to says, simple, don't, that flash is one thing. His teams are going to be tough. They're going to be tough teams. So I don't know what to make of it. It was interesting listening to Carter Nelson.
Yeah, about Coach Prime.
Yeah, he said that they're making Prime's brand so prominent, and it seemed like it gave him a little pause.
Bigger than the school itself.
Yeah.
And then
he said, I don't know what to think about that. But then he said he had a good personal meeting with him, and he's not all flash. He's just very down to earth.
I mean, I like Nebraska's chances though with Ginther and Carter Nelson. I mean, I think we didn't talk about Eli Newby. I think he was a guy. He's a priority guy. I think
he should be,
and he's got a really good wingspan. He's 6'3", but he's probably got like a 6'5" wingspan.
Really impressive athlete. I mean, really impressive looking athlete. I mean, it's exactly what you need.
And his personality, and
yeah,
he's from Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'm one of the few pretty people in Nebraska that've been to Bridgeport. It's a tough city.
We got to talk about something here, Sean. I think people are going to get tired of us talking about Deion Sanders. We got to be careful with that.
That game, though, I'm just thinking about going out there to Boulder. That will be his first home game. Do you understand how full that press box is going to be?
Do you understand what a crazy day that's going to be, period? I mean, come on. It's Nebraska, Colorado in its prime. And is there any second game?
Okay, like it's going to be a fight between Fox and ABC for that game. Whoever has the pick that week, and
if they're smart, and if those executives are smart,
we'll know. But God, if you're Fox, like they're so big on Big Noon Kickoff, do you put that game at Big Noon Kickoff because it's 10 a.m. in Boulder?
I don't know.
Or do you say we're gonna put Big Noon Kickoff in prime time for Coach Prime? Is it? I mean,
they might do that. They might.
Doesn't that sound?
It's not only Prime, and it's not only Rule in his second game. You can't forget about the Nebraska-Colorado dynamic.
That game is going to be insane.
The Nebraska-Colorado dynamic. You were there last time. It was heat. That was hot. I mean, that game felt hot. I
mean,
not weather-wise,
not kids, like grown men and women came on the field and they were like flipping off the Nebraska players.
There were grown men grabbing their junk. I mean, it was really off-putting.
I've never seen. And Megan, if you have time to look on the back end, Getty Images has photos from 2019 Nebraska, Colorado of the grown men on the field.
Yeah,
and it wasn't just like a couple.
No,
it was several hundred grown men.
It was
on the field.
It was mildly disturbing.
I just spilled my coffee over that.
That's awesome. It was mildly disturbing, and Sean. But that was hot that day. The intensity was so. It was.
Well, Nebraska blew a big lead.
Yeah, and that's when Adrian dropped cuss words in the press conference afterwards. I mean, that was a horrible loss.
That game
was a horrible loss.
I get it right this week. The trajectory.
I
got it right this week, folks, of the Scott Frost era. And I think Megan might be fine. There it is right there. There's some of the grown men on the field. Now, these look more like
kids.
Some of Robin's fantasy football buddies.
They do. Are they in your league, Rob? Is that guy in your league? Does he have Derek Carr? Yeah, that's a good photo, Megan. But yeah, there's guys my age doing that. Imagine that.
Well, and they were minutes away from leaving that stadium.
Yeah,
in the third quarter. If Nebraska just put that game away and then they choked it away.
It was a rough. That was a signature loss. If you call it, if you want to call it.
Nebraska was ranked going in that game. They were ranked.
And what were they up at halftime?
17-0, wasn't it?
I think it was 17-0, something like that. Yeah.
And
then what they do when it came out?
It was 17, and it should have been more than 17.
And what happened when they came out to start the second half?
They played.
No,
they got a delay game.
they got a delay on the first play, which you don't see very often.
That happened like 2 or 3 times under Frost.
My God.
All right. On that note,
No more talk about Prime.
I hope we don't have to witness that scene again on the field in Boulder. But thanks again for joining. Make sure you log on to HuskerOnline.com. We've got a great special right now, $30 to get you access until August 31st. We're going to have plenty of great coverage this weekend, not only with spring practice, Husker baseball as well. So make sure you check us out. Like, subscribe here to us on YouTube, or download our podcast here anywhere that you can subscribe and find podcasts.